Can BRICS have the same impact on international relations as the European Union? How do the two organizations stack up against each other? And is there any point to comparing them? Well, yes and no. BRICS, or now BRICS Plus, is expanding at an unprecedented pace and could become a large international alliance with a fair share of global influence in the near future. But is it becoming the new European Union? In 2001, a Goldman Sachs economist, Jim O'Neill, predicted that Brazil, Russia, India, and China would start dominating the world economy within 50 years. He called the group BRIC. Ministers and diplomats from these countries started meeting in 2006 to discuss the implications. In 2009, they officially formed BRICS to group the countries together, the final S being South Africa. In January 2024, the group has taken the next big step, inviting 5 more countries into its fold. With Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia, the group has renamed itself to BRICS Plus. Speaking of international alliances, one cannot overlook the European Union, which begs the question, how do BRICS and the EU stack up against each other? By just taking a look at the world map, we immediately notice a discrepancy. The original BRICS countries were home to 3.3 billion people, more than 40% of the entire world population. BRICS Plus takes this number to 3.7 billion. Contrasting this with the EU's 440 million seems moot. Geographically, the BRICS Plus countries occupy 46 million square kilometers to the EU's 4 million. But all these appearances can be deceiving. This is the EU compared to the BRICS. One cannot help but notice the geographical disparity. The EU has the Schengen area and single market system, allowing local markets to move products with minimal red tape. The same cannot be said for the BRICS countries separated by long distances and political differences. But do all these things matter if we look at growing economic prowess of the BRICS countries? Offering an alternative to the more standardized G7 powers, the BRICS Plus GDP at 29 trillion USD FAR surpasses the EU's 17 trillion. It is important to note that geographical cohesiveness is not the only trick that the EU has up its sleeve. It also has a long cultural and political history, and most of its countries align to similar political and cultural principles. The same cannot be said for the BRICS members. India and China, for instance, have continuous border skirmishes, especially around the Ladakh region. And BRICS members have also had to navigate the Russian sanctions carefully. All these issues strike at the heart of the issue. The EU is a decades-old institution. It has found common ground between its own members and figured out how to deal with the rest of the world. BRICS, on the other hand, does not have any of these basic principles. As a stalwart of rising economies, BRICS is very much a reactive organization that is seeking to provide an alternative to the accepted norms of geopolitics. In that way, the lack of collective political and cultural ideas allows a lot more flexibility to the members. Not only do the members arrive on their own terms, they conduct business on their own terms too. BRICS members form unique trade agreements and set their own tariffs. Since the BRICS Plus is comprised of rising economies, this incentives them to join the organization and expand their contacts without any baggage. The EU does this in a rather regulated manner. Money from Western giants like Germany and France is routed to Central and Eastern European programs. This way, the EU tries to strengthen the weakest links in its chain. The euro also plays a big role here, increasing economic unity by offering seamless trade. While there have been discussions about a joint BRICS currency, its future remains unclear. As the world moves away from petrodollar, growing economies around the world would be skeptical to trade in another standardized currency, one that would be heavily tied with the Chinese currency, the largest economic power in the group. So while BRICS provides a platform for discussing international affairs, it also has a far more disjointed approach. It is simply a platform for increased cooperation without any tenets of its own, which means that it carries far less political weight on a global scale. It is credible to say that BRICS would not become the new EU, since it does not want to. It is simply a loose confederation that offers an alternative to established Western order. The BRICS is, in no way, a counterpart to the EU. In fact, the EU has increasingly been looking to the Middle East for its energy needs since the Russia-Ukraine war. And Gulf countries have started to join BRICS. So, the two organizations are not each other's antithesis. In fact, a lot of voices within the EU are encouraging cooperation over competition. The BRICS does not aim to create a new world order. It simply serves as an aid to combat the negative tendencies of the Western hegemony. Take South Africa, for instance, positioned as a great broker between the EU and BRICS nations. Their case against Israel in the ICJ offers a stark contrast to the EU's constant reiteration of Israeli support. Similarly, when the West sanctioned Russia for its actions in Ukraine, the BRICS members continue to engage in diplomacy with Putin's regime. It should also be noted that the EU will still be dealing with BRICS members on a one-to-one basis. They will conduct their trade with China as they want to, with India as they want to, and they will maintain their stance on Russia's transgression actions. However, they may not have the same pull that they used to have. Now that these emerging powers know that they have an alternative route, they would not feel the need to appease the established powers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. That's it for now. Until next time.